A wonderful night rest. So quickly, yesterday I briefed you about some last class. I briefed you about some information about enzymes. So today, um, like I promised, I'll be taking. I took you through factors that affect the metabolism of enzymes yesterday. The factors that influence.
Student, please be patient. Your lecturer will rejoin soon. Thank you.
So you're welcome back. Like I was explaining to you, but the types of enzymes. Um, I was trying to share with you a review. I was trying to show you a review of what we've done in this class so far. I don't think this sharing of the screen is not working. I don't know what's happening here. Okay. All right. So, I was taking you through the review of the class generally. So, I was on isomers. I talked to you about isomers. I talked about the cases. Then, the next one of the types is the lysis. So, the lysis involves lysis actually catalyzes the interconversion of carbon dioxide and bicarbonate ions. So this is what, and you have an example there called carbonic anhydrase. So the next type there is transferesis. Transferesis transfer a phosphate group from adenosine triphosphate to glucose in glycolysis. An example of it is exokinesis. I mentioned kinase the other time when I previous some minutes ago when I was talking to you about the transfer of a fatty acid, or let me say transformation of a fatty acid into a glycogen. When I talked to you about when you react it in the presence, you use an enzyme kinase. You should remember. So number 6 is oxidoreductases. And oxidoreductases catalyze the transfer of electrons from a cytochrome C to oxygen in the electron transport chain. So an example of it is cytochrome C oxidase. And quickly to factors that influence the velocity of the enzyme catalyzed reaction. In this class, I've talked to you about temperature, the effect of temperature. The enzyme generally have an optimal temperature at which they function most efficiently, and when the energy is above, when the temperature is above, rather, the efficiency of this enzyme will be altered. There's going to be an alteration of the efficiency of the enzymes. So when the temperature is increased beyond the peculiarity of the enzyme, if the temperature is lower than the peculiarity of the enzyme, the reaction will not be efficient. The enzyme reaction will not be efficient. Then the next factor that affects or that influences is the pH. I told you that the pH is the degree of the acidity and the alkalinity of a particular system. So the enzyme have an optimal pH range for activity. So when there's a change in the pH, it could alter the ionization state of an amino acid residues in the enzyme, impacting its structure and function. That means when there's a pH, when the pH shifts from the specific pH that a particular enzyme can be active, there's going to be a shift in the structures, and the function also will be altered. So the next point is the substrate concentration. In substrate concentration, as the substrate concentration increases, the rate of reaction initially rises. However, at a certain point, the enzyme becomes saturated. So when the enzyme becomes saturated, as a result of the concentration of the substrate being increased, you realize the increase in the rate of the reaction will not go further anymore. So it's just the rate at which the reaction increases, instead of it to be spontaneous increase in reaction, the reaction will just increase, and the rate of the reaction does not increase further than that when the reaction is already saturated. When the enzyme is already saturated. So the next point is the enzyme concentration. The concentration of the enzyme also affect the fact is one of the factors that influence the velocity of the enzyme catalyzed reaction. So when there's an increase, the amount of enzyme typically increases the rate of reaction. When you have when a particular enzyme concentration increases, it will affect the reaction. Don't forget, one of the factors or one of the essential information you shouldn't forget is that an enzyme is a biological catalyst, and one of the major purposes of this enzyme is to make sure that the activation energy that is required to make a metabolic procedure is reduced, so that the reaction can be done on time, or that the reaction can be fulfilled on time. So the next point is the inhibitors. Inhibitors is also a factor that influences the velocity of an enzyme catalyst reaction. Inhibitor can affect enzyme activity. Competitive inhibitors compete with substrate for the active site, while non-competitive inhibitors bind to an allosteric site, altering the enzyme shape and reducing its activity. I talked to you the last class about competitive and non-competitive inhibitors, and I told you that there's always a struggle most of the time for competitive inhibitors trying to bind to the active points of an enzyme. So when you have a combination of two substrates, factors coming to attack or to attach itself to the active point of a particular enzyme, this case is called a competitive inhibitor issue. But in the case of non-competitive, there's no struggle to combine with the active properties. So that means they can combine with the enzyme on the substrate on at allosteric site. And so number 6 is the cofactor, the effect of the cofactor and coenzymes. How does it happen? Enzymes may require cofactor like an inorganic ion or a coenzyme, a fellow enzyme. For proper functioning, I told you last class that there are some enzymes that doesn't work alone and synthesize it. So if you are to have a perfect synthesis of metabolic process of a particular compound, that times that there's going to be a combination of these two enzymes for this formation of this enzyme to be formed, for this formation of the breakdown of this molecule to be formed. So there's always a combination of 1, 2, 3 enzymes, depending on the specificity of the cases. Depending on the specificity of the cases. Also, that's the last point I'm going to share with you in this revision is the enzyme structure. The enzyme structure also affects the enzyme structure also affects is one of the factors that influence the velocity of an enzyme catalyzed reaction. So in this case, mutation or alternation in the enzyme structure can affect its catalytic efficiency. So that will be it. I don't know. Maybe we have a space of a few minutes. I'm having about 3 minutes left over. Any of you had questions? You have questions? You can just quickly put them on the question part, so I can answer that right now. Any question whatsoever? Okay. If there are no questions, thank you so much for joining this webinar, and have a